appointments and institutionalizing some of the activities that he thinks needs to be in place in order to rescue our country from its crisis. So in the last week, the President has been, in the last few weeks, has been positioning the Party of Excellency for the magnitude of work that he thinks lies ahead of us. And today he wants us to announce two bold steps that he has taken in preparing Zimbabwe and the country for the next steps. He believes that a big part of our country's problems emanates from a lack of public integrity and accountability. And in order to show the country that he is serious about that, the President is, with immediate effect, working with all the local authorities to provide an example for accountability and integrity. The President wants to show the country that unless we are not serious about progress, we should have no tolerance for corruption and for public officials who have no efficacy. So he has, with immediate effect, constituted an integrity and accountability panel here, which will be seized with investigating and working on issues of corruption in local authorities. Has provided definitive terms of reference for this panel. They would like this committee to perform its duties by meeting not just with officials, with stakeholders, residents and citizens. The 5-member strong panel has been carefully vetted and will be led by a lawyer that you will all respect, one who has served this country for a very long time with commitment and integrity. The President will require of him to execute his duties with honor and hard work, and the President has instructed him to remain uncompromising in his commitment to high standards, to the high standards that the President himself is committed to. Advocate Tawani Mpofu will lead this panel. Secondly, the President has taken steps to ensure that the party remains a party of excellency and that its operations, that it prepares an alternative government, an all-star alternative government, by assigning specific duties to the vice presidents and the party. The President has allocated these duties to ensure that he can execute the mandate to transform the MDC into a modern-day 21st century party. These assignments are in place in order to ensure that the MDC can define the new Zimbabwe and prepare to form the next government, and do so very soon. Vice Presidents hold these responsibilities on a rotational basis that shall be determined by the President from time to time. In line with the Constitution, the President has designated with immediate effect that the Vice Presidents shall resume working on the following areas. Vice President Honorable Lynette Karenyi will be responsible for supervising all party activities relating to 2 clusters, which are Parliament and Party Building. Vice President Professor Osho Mube will be responsible for supervising all party activities relating to administration and international relations and diplomacy. Vice President Honorable Tendai Biti will be responsible for supervising all party activities relating to policy and ideology and local government. you will be aware that Vice President Karenyi is a distinguished leader who has led the Women's Assembly and brings with her a lot of experience and oversight to the activities of the party in Parliament. Vice President Beattie is a former finance minister and has worked on issues of corruption and accountability for a very long time, and will therefore dispose his duties with a lot of experience in his sleeves. Professor Washman Nguya is an experienced administrator, was a former Secretary General of this party, a distinguished lawyer and a university professor who has had consistent activities with consultations with diplomats and worked with the NCA at its formation. So there's a lot of experience that the President is putting to good use. With that, I finish my step. Do we have any questions? No?
I just want to appreciate from you why these assignments to the Vice President right now. Is there any particular reason that pushes for this when they've been working for the past 3 or so months without this specific portfolio?
Well, the President is looking at forming an alternative cabinet. The country is run by mostly what seems to be the dead root. And we're at a point where we do need an alternative government structure. And this is the beginning of that process. Which we think is absolutely necessary. We've got to assign these duties to make sure they're carried out in the party, but also in preparing the structures of the party to take the responsibility of government.
And when you say that business and the young people should take concrete steps towards ending the crisis in the country, is there any idea in terms of what concrete means?
Well, look, our country is at a point where there is no going back if we do not stop it now. If you're in the habit of reading, you realize that economies across the world are transforming from the ones that began at the turn of the 18th century, your industrial revolution. We're now going into an information age revolution. And Zimbabwe doesn't even have the industries that are necessary for the last type of economy. And we need to be moving to the next type of economy. And if we're going to do that, we are going to need to resolve our crisis very quickly, or else we will be irrelevant as a people. Our country needs to be building an economic infrastructure that can take advantage of the information age. If we allow the current government to continue to put us back into the Stone Age, the problem is that we will get to a stage where we will be unable to catch up with the rest of the world. Our infrastructure and our resources will be too obsolete for the next economy, for the next society.
Yeah, but you say if we allow, that's the gist of my question. How do you disallow?
Well, history is littered with a lot of moments like this. History is littered with societies and communities that were on the brink of complete dissolution, and the people took their responsibilities seriously to organize themselves. This is what the social contract is about. We have got to realize that those governments govern firstly with consent, and secondly must govern so that we've got to make sure that those that govern us know that we need to do that, and if they can't help us achieve that at the very beginning, then they've got to accept their inability and step aside. How that is done it is almost always entirely the responsibility of the nation. Look, the people of Zimbabwe are the largest Congress that this country can ever have. And they must decide. They must have that Congress.
Some people have accused you of lacking leadership because you do not have something definitive to tell them that this is the steps that we are taking. You always say people have to decide. Well, what if people have decided to live with what is happening?
Look, I disagree that we always say that we always say the people have to decide. We are saying that now. But the gist of the matter is that we've had a lopsided. We have to change this relationship. The people of this country must own their country. We must own our country. And if we own it, we're never going to let anybody abuse it. Okay? We need to begin to take responsibility. And that is what the president is doing. Look at what he's done. And that is the task of leadership. He says, look, we need to be ready to lead when called upon. And in order for us to be ready to lead, we will clean up our structures. And one of the most serious problems, pernicious problems in this country is a lack of integrity and high levels of corruption. The president is taking decisive action beforehand to make sure that as we go forward, we don't get stuck in there. And then he's assigned duties for his vice presidents, which is a responsibility to make sure that work gets done. And that when a government is needed, it is there for the people, and it can account for its activities. And that is leadership. And believe me, the people of Zimbabwe know what they need to do. They know what they need to do. They know that they own this country. It is theirs. This country has got to be great, as it has been in the past. And we'll get there. Because the people of Zimbabwe will do what is necessary to serve their own future and that of their own children.
Can you give us a bit more detail in the panel that has been set up? Because you've just given us the head, and you also did not mention the terms of reference.
Well, look, they've been provided with terms of reference, and I will provide you with copies of those by email at the end of the press conference or by WhatsApp, soft copies. The panel will be answerable will answer to the president ultimately, but the panel will make its decisions and will make sure that they are enforced in all the areas where the enforcement power resides within the party and in the president's purview. So you will see an example of what it is to have an independent panel that investigates issues. And members of the public are encouraged to get engaged. I will provide you with 3 hotline numbers that will be available for members of the public to whistleblow if they needed to, and to provide information to that panel. So we're taking very concrete steps. This has never been said in this country. This is stuff that you see in those countries that have made it in life. Yes.
Thank you. Why now? Is this the MDC accepting that its councils are due to corruption or something else?
No, it is not. We are accepting that most leaders in this country have spent the bulk of their life under the leadership of ZANU-PF, and that perhaps as a result of that, we may have cultures that need to be dealt with. And that is what we're doing. The president has a zero policy tolerance for corruption, and he's not going to take chances. He's going to trust his people, but he's going to do so with his eyes wide open. He's not going to do it with eyes closed. Okay. We okay? Thank you.